Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. We're back. It's been a while. Shawn, Kane, Cory, Lestochi will be joining you in just 1 second to get caught up on Penn State football. Everything from the NFL draft to spring practice being over to what's next in the recruiting world. All that and more in just a second. Let's get right into it. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, or at least as frequently as we record, Shawn Kane. How you doing today, Shawn?
Not too bad, Cory. Not too bad. I love the Woody Page quote here.
You like that?
Yeah, very, 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 very demure, very mindful, if you will. Yeah, it's been so long. How's everything been with you?
Pretty good. Let me just. We haven't done this for a while, in case people kind of forgot. And so I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think we are officially live. So I think we did figure that. Obviously the intro didn't work the way it's supposed to. Haven't done this for a bit, but regardless, we're here. So welcome in everybody to Hardcore Penn State Football. I don't really feel bad for not having recorded as much as recently. It just kind of happened the way it did, and it's been almost 3 months since our last episode. Oh wow.
Yeah, around February-ish. And to be fair, Cory, for like a month there, nothing was really going on.
No.
And I think that's been a big departure from, as we kind of get right into it, from the Franklin era to the Matt Campbell era.
Yeah. So I think we want to talk about today, Matt Campbell thoughts so far, some spring practice thoughts so far. We'll talk about the NFL draft and the 8 Nittany Lions that were picked there. And then we'll wrap up with some recruiting news. And we did get some fan questions, which I think is hysterical. Maybe that's how we should start the episode, though, is just by saying we got a lot of DMs, a lot of people tweeting at us, wondering when we were going to be back. We appreciate that. That's awesome. I will start the episode, Shawn, by being selfish and explaining a smidgen on why I wasn't maybe overly excited to record. Two things. One, I'm not completely bought in on Penn State football yet. And I'm not saying I'm not believing what Matt Campbell's putting down. I think that's actually quite the opposite. I had this kind of feeling ever since Franklin was fired, and I'm just not ready yet to commit to knowing all the players, knowing all the coaches. It's a brand new everything, right? You're starting completely over, and I just to make sure we're all on the same page to start off this episode, I have not done all the homework I probably supposed to do in lieu of this episode. So, and I'm not completely there yet. Still, I think I'm closer because we're recording, but that's a big part of it. The other part of it is my wife and I are expecting at the end of August, and even though, Shawn, it's very hypocritical because selfishly, you obviously had your child in the middle of the season and continued to record and thing was fine. I'm expecting right before the season starts, and I'm already thinking like how much or what is the commitment going to be like? Do we go full send all the way to right before, and then we just maybe figure it out? And so part of my mind's been on like this weird, like, do we even continue to do this if we're not going to be able to continue to do this consistently right when the season starts? Which I think for you, at least Penn State stunk by then. But like
Yes,
this
they
will be
did.
right before the season starts. And so I don't like doing things kind of half-ass. And so if I'm going to do it, I want to do it. I want to do it right. And so that, Shawn, has also been a little bit on my mind as well. So those are the two things I've been internally battling with, which has honestly kept me from wanting to record a little bit. And obviously the baby thing is a little bit more specific to me, but I think I'm not the only one in the like clean slate starting over. Like, yeah, I'm just going to hop right back on that train. I think there's other people that feel the same way. I think.
Yeah. First off, public congratulations to Cory. I have told him privately it's the greatest thing ever being a dad. Um, and that's the most important thing out of all of this. But yeah, I mean, as far as when the season gets here, we will figure it out. And between Cory and myself, we'll see what we'll have to do. And then as far as your first point goes, yeah, I think if you poll a majority of Penn State fans on Blue White weekend, they'd probably feel the same way. They were so hyped for the past season, and it was the biggest letdown in school history. And I don't think I'm exaggerating in saying that. We've had teams that didn't make the mark before that had high expectations, but not losing 21-0 out at UCLA. Uh, Not that big of a letdown. So now you bring in a new coach, and I think people are relatively excited about him still. And it's not only a new coach, it's all new players. You think about when Bill O'Brien took over at Penn State, even though we had some attrition, it was a lot of the same guys. And same thing when James Franklin took over for Bill O'Brien. Didn't have the attrition that Bill O'Brien dealt with, but it was a lot of the same people. And then you come into the modern era of college football, and Matt Campbell brings over 20 guys from Iowa State, not including some other guys, James Peoples of the world, coming from elsewhere. So it's a new staff, it's new everything, and coming off of a letdown of a season, there are going to be some people that are a little hesitant to buy all the way back in. And even the guys that have been here at Penn State, K-Trot Allen is gone. Nick Singleton is gone. Drew Aller is gone. Zach Key Wheatley, all these guys that we, came to know the past few years, they're all gone, and they're being replaced by a lot of new guys, even on the roster. So it's not just Cory and I that are getting to know a lot of these new people. It's all of you. So, we'll just have to buckle in and see what goes on here. And I think we both have a lot of thoughts on Matt Campbell that we've been texting about the last couple of months.
Yeah, let's go into that because I think what you started to hit on, I want to talk about. I feel better about Matt Campbell than I did back when he was hired, even back when we recorded in January, February or so. I think both you and I were in a little bit of a wait and see. Like, yeah, sure, he's saying the right things, and he's honestly not saying a lot of things. And I think that's probably where you're going to go with this. But we wanted to sort of see that, and I think you and I and you follow recruiting better than I do. We're worried about the recruiting front, and although there's still some additional questions, I do think he's answered the bell fairly well so far. And obviously still has some more work to do, but it seems to be good. I will say this. I'm still hesitant. People are like, oh, he's bringing in the right guys and the right culture fits. And I would recommend you just hold your horses a little bit on that because I'm not saying he doesn't want that. But I think it's very early to be drinking that Kool-Aid and making it seem like Penn State's choosing the high character guys and nobody else is. Or Penn State's saying no to blue chip talent because they're not character guys when they decide to go somewhere else. Like, let's maybe not become the moral police on who the high character guys are and who Penn State's getting and not getting and all of those things. But I think generally speaking, I've been content, even maybe a little surprised with how the recruiting has gone so far.
Yeah, I think because it went a long time before we got any commits. Not until I think mid March before anybody committed, and now we have quite a few. Penn State is at this time top 5 in recruiting. It's not going to stay there, just because a lot of other guys haven't committed to the bigger schools yet. And you look at the star rating; it's not all that high, to be completely honest. But there's still some good players coming in here. And I think the whole high character guys, there's an element of copium to that. I think that all of our guys, kind of
Definitely.
poop ice cream, and then these other guys, well, I don't know, they're all I don't know.
Degenerates.
Yeah, degenerates. I don't think that's really how it works, guys. Um, and ultimately, um, what my goal was personally, Matt Campbell doesn't care about what my goal was. But what I wanted to see was a top 15 class. And I think some people were saying, well, he just got here. So, well, a lot of times there's a new coach bump, and you're supposed to recruit pretty well your first year. Like we got Saquon, James Franklin's first year, and a lot of other really good players. Like a lot of times it's the opposite. You're supposed
Yeah.
to hit on a lot of these big name guys early on. And, we just picked one up today, Stanley Montgomery, who Matt Campbell was on before he really blew up on the recruiting scene. So you have seen some good players come here, but you look at how we're recruiting in Pennsylvania, it's not really where I think I love. He's Stanley Montgomery is our first top 5 guy in the state to commit. But you have a lot of guys going elsewhere. And while it's one of the things I am excited about with Matt Campbell, though, that I will say, is he has opened up places in the Midwest that Penn State wouldn't traditionally recruit. We have the best player from the state of Iowa. We have the best player from the state of South Dakota. If we could start recruiting better in Pennsylvania to go along with all these places that Matt Campbell has connections to from his time at Iowa State, I think he could really start. We could really start bringing in some of these high profile guys. I think a lot of it too is the way Matt Campbell envisions a roster is different than what the traditional way of doing it is, and the way that James Franklin, frankly, wanted to do it. I think he's going to be more active in the portal, and I think there's an idea now coming along, and not just here, but all across college football, that paying a ton of money for guys right out of high school, a lot of times, unless you're one of these big money schools, could be a bit of a fool's errand, and it could get teams in trouble. Now, I still think the primary way to build your team is through high school recruiting, but I think there's going to be more and more of a focus on the portal, and that means we got to hit well on the portal. And frankly, we got to do better than we did last year with the portal, because there's not going to be Iowa State that we could just pick from because Matt Campbell used to coach them.
You hit on something there I want to go back to on the Midwest to Pennsylvania part, because I think what's going to happen here is I do give him a pass on recruiting Pennsylvania well in 2027, as long as he supplements it with Midwest recruiting and recruiting elsewhere, which I think he will do. I think what you'll see over time is this transition from a lot of Midwest guys to less Midwest guys, more PA, more Virginia, more Maryland, Jersey, New York, etc. And I think he's going to the wells that he knows, while he continues to build inroads with the places in Pennsylvania. So I'm not saying the recruiting classes are going to get better, but I think where he dips from will continue to sort of change the longer he's at Penn State. And he needs to supplement the class with as many people as he can from his previous pipeline in order to do so. That being said, I mean, look, the 2027 class right now is doing very well, top 10-ish, top 5, depending where you're looking. That's great. Obviously, it's April 30th, so we got a long ways to go there. But I think they're doing some good things there, and I like the offensive lineman, for example, that they're bringing in as well from a size perspective. But I really like, and I think this is going to be a huge part, even more than what it was with James Franklin's staff, the recruiting of Ohio, East Ohio, and Western Pennsylvania. We did well there to begin with under Franklin. Obviously, Terry Smith has a large part of that. I think we could even do better there moving forward. Obviously, when Matt Campbell is at Toledo, they're going to recruit that area extremely well, probably earlier on than even Philadelphia, which I know Montgomery coming out of Philadelphia technically, but I expect that to do better at first. I think the part where I'm still curious about, and we talked about this when all the coaches were being hired, is like what are they going to do about the DMV and how much are they going to be able to hit on there? That's probably the part, especially with Franklin being at Virginia Tech, where I think they're going to. It's probably going to take the longest there to see hitting the blue chip guys compared to everywhere else. Jersey's a little bit different. Jersey's always been sort of the wild card. People go in Jersey all the time and get kids, whether you're at Michigan or Wisconsin or Alabama. Jersey's always kind of weird. Like it doesn't really regional road ties don't seem to matter as much there. But what they've been able to do in Western PA already, and what they're going to continue to have to do with the rest of the state, I think eventually 28 and call the 2029 class. I expect to see more regional recruiting as those pipelines continue to be kind of under construction.
Yeah, I'm happy you hit on the DMV. That's a really, really good point. Because Penn State, look at all the most successful teams Penn State has had. Look at all the players that have come from the DMV. Just off the top of your head, Trace McSorley, Michael Robinson, Devon Still. Like that's just Penn State's playing well. We're recruiting the DMV well. That's just the way it is. And I was hoping on this coaching staff that we would hire somebody with DMV connections. We really didn't. But that takes time, and it's not like we're going to just quit on the DMV. Believe me, it's a talent-rich region, and Matt Campbell knows how important that's going to be. And yeah, I think the staff, one of the things that I was also excited about with the recruiting is there is that Ohio connection. And one of the best players in this class, Shawn Telfair, is from Euclid, Ohio. So that's going to be a focus going forward. Like you said, Matt Campbell previously coached at Toledo. He's from East Ohio. So as time goes on, I think they're going to focus more on Ohio. And they might even be approaching this with, okay, might not be able to get as many players from the DMV, but if we could do better in Ohio, we could do better in New Jersey, at least temporarily. That could supplement some of the catching up that we're going to have to do in the DMV and in Pennsylvania too.
Yeah, and we've talked about Matt Campbell for a handful of minutes now, and I'm surprised you haven't gone to this, but just overarching thoughts. Probably one of the biggest things that I'm probably most excited about is we don't know every move. We don't hear from Matt Campbell a ton. We don't have to have everything broadcasted to us. It doesn't seem like there is an agenda or a vision that has to be painted. The vision is playing football, and the vision is coaching football. And I think based off of the reinvestment in the alums and the lettermen and how they've responded, I think the message is being received very well. I think whether you agree with it or not, and this is not turning into a sour grapes on James Franklin, but I think a lot of people were tired of hearing things and not doing things. And I'm not saying Franklin didn't do anything, but the loudest message so far has been the unspoken one. And I think the results, you're already seeing that based off of the recommitment to the lettermen, the alums, the coaching staff, and so forth. I don't know if that's going to translate to wins, Shawn, but I think at the bare minimum, there's more positivity and it doesn't seem to be so synthetic.
Yeah. About that. Ultimately, it's going to come down to winning and losing. So all this stuff about recommitting to the letterman and everything, I think it's fine. People forget James Franklin also tried this. Like people kind of think that James Franklin just ignored the letterman all 12 years. And that's not true. Like, they may not have been receptive to him.
Right.
They may have grown tired of him over the years. James Franklin might have grown tired of some of the alums over the years. But at first, no, he made it a point to want to go out and, and get to know the alums. And part of that is Franklin kind of insulated himself a little bit toward the end, kind of became his undoing a little bit. But yeah, I think Matt Campbell has been refreshing to a lot of people that want substance. Now, the thing with that, and I think it's good that Matt Campbell's a bit of a boring guy. You even listen to his press conferences, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we look good today. And he doesn't tell you a whole lot, but that's okay. I'm fine with that because I think the guys in the locker room have responded really, really well to him because I think he has one voice for the media, and all coaches kind of do this too. He has one voice for the media, one voice for the fans, and then one voice for his players. And I think the players really, really respond well. One of the most impressive thing he has done so far has been retaining so many good players from last year's roster. So I think the players themselves wanted to hear a new message and wanted to, and that's why he was able to hold on to so many of them.
Real quick, just before you continue, if he wants to lose the Letterman, all he has to do is on September 12th, 2026, lose at Temple, and I'm sure they'll turn on him very fast.
Exactly. So really, all this doesn't mean a whole lot because Penn State fans and fans in general, the fire Campbell tweets will be out. He's not ready for this. This is an Iowa State. F Campbell. It will hit.
I miss your fan impersonation so much.
Oh yeah. I promise you it will come if that were to happen, because the thing with just being all about football, you better damn sure be good at coaching. Right. You better win because if we go, when you look at the schedule, we go 8-4, 7-5 this year, people are going to be like, is this guy up to it? That's going to be the storyline going into 27. And I don't think that's going to happen. But he has to win at least 9. I think Cory, he has to win at least 9 games for everybody to still be fully bought in.
Yeah, I mean, didn't think we were going to get to that point today, but to your point, like, the schedule doesn't really give you much of a break from the standpoint of, like, you better win a lot of games because there's a lot of cupcakes on there, and so you better find a way to win a lot of those games. So, last thing I want to talk about, overarching. I don't know if you caught the entire thing, but Coach Terry, Uncle Terry, went on to 93.7 The Fan. Is that what it is? One of those ones in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And the clip on X wasn't the entire thing, but that's not to be surprised with Pittsburgh sports media. But basically, Terry Smith talked a little bit about Drew Aller. That's obviously why he was on there, given that Drew Aller went to the Steelers, which we'll talk about more in a second. But Terry Smith straight up was like, yeah, we didn't really coach him or put him in a position to succeed based off the offense we ran. Why I'm bringing this up now is you mentioned like what Matt Campbell was able to retain. The retention of Terry Smith, I think we talked about this pretty substantially way back then, but as this continues to go out and like news isn't as secretive and we're finding out more about the conversations that were happening. I forget the beat reporter for Center Daily Times all of a sudden. But he reported talking about Darius Dixon and I'm sorry, maybe it was Jameer Joseph, and how Jameer Joseph was like, I'm going wherever Terry goes. And he wanted to stay at Penn State, but he's like, I'm going to go wherever Terry goes. And if I had to guess, there's a lot of stories like that. And so I don't know if it was so much Matt Campbell was able to retain Terry Smith, or based off of Terry Smith's interview the other day, Terry Smith didn't really want to go with James Franklin. So take that for what you will, but regardless, I think if you look at Matt Campbell's to bring it back to today, you look at what Matt Campbell's done so far. I don't think he's blown out expectations or done an exceptional job, but I think he's checked the boxes he's needed to check. He's retained the staff, and he's put together a staff that I feel very confident in, a young staff, an excited staff, as well as enough experience around it. He's also retained Penn Staters, Terry Smith, Danton Lynn, Dan Connor. So he's been able to do that as well. And so forth, been able to retain some of the additional players that they needed to even make this team competitive, as well as he's kind of just shut up and gone to work and got the Letterman back in line and is building something. So to wrap up my thoughts on Matt Campbell, I am feeling better than I did, say, 3 months ago, better than I am, say, 4 or 5 months ago, especially with what the recruiting is. But to your point, a lot of this doesn't really matter right now.
Right. And the Terry comments were so interesting. I think first off, I'm surprised he said that.
It wouldn't be allowed to have that interview if Franklin is still here.
No. And it's funny too. Like, we could talk about injuries now. Like, we know that Rocco had a torn labrum. Yeah, like, we know just basic injury stuff, and it's not CIA anymore. Again, does it matter? No.
The media got to go to like entire practices.
Yes, and that's going to lead to more positive coverage too, because some of our beat reporters, I'm not going to mention any names, but you could tell they were probably they got tired of James over the years.
I would say all of them got tired. You don't have to name names. I don't know if anybody was sitting there at the end, like, besides maybe Nate Bauer. That was like,
oh, Nate's different though.
Besides Nate Bauer was like, yeah, I am getting a lot out of James Franklin right now. Like, everybody had been pushed out as far as communication. If you said one bad thing or questioned one thing, it was like, you're not getting any more additional access. So that's completely changed. And you can hear it when you listen to podcasts, read. People are going out of their way to juxtapose the difference between the two.
And, that's pretty smart from Matt Campbell. Like, people, like, to get better coverage, that bodes well for you to not be so insulated. And
but isn't that thing? But Shawn, isn't that like hysterical in the sense that, like, that's not some secret trade idea? Like, duh. Like, that's kind of why, like, if you talk to some of these beat reporters, which Shawn and I have built relationships with some of them, they've said this for years, even to Franklin. Like, we're giving us access helps your program. Like, and for whatever reason, that still didn't happen. This isn't some revolutionary idea. Shawn didn't just figure out rocket science today, but it was still revolting.
Yeah, and I don't understand what had happened. And this isn't to turn into a bashing James Franklin thing. Some of you people on Twitter have to get a life too. Like, every time Virginia Tech does something, you'll just see random Penn State fans with the replies. Like, they kind of come off like an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend that they're like, yeah, well, you like them right now. Well, what about this? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, can't you just let these people live a little bit?
The guy getting stuck though, the parachute coming in was pretty funny.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yeah, and it's okay to like laugh at some things, but some people, like, they made like a cottage industry about just randomly tweeting about Virginia Tech. It's odd, but at the same time, James just made it. He made himself so insulated, and I don't understand it, because I always thought like he was like, when he is himself, like I thought the Thanksgiving press conferences were always like his best press conferences, because he actually let people see another side of him and be funny and be engaging, and it also came off as kind of genuine, like he wasn't trying to sell anything. I don't know why he didn't let that side of himself out more, but different era now. And one thing about Matt Campbell is he is going to be all about ball, and he's going to be himself all the time. And I think that's what a lot of people have really embraced about him.
Well, let's go back into the past and talk about the NFL draft. Now that we gave you 20 minutes of time about Matt Campbell. 8 Nittany Lions picked in the NFL draft. It was a very good, just in general, weekend for Penn State players. Even the guys that were picked up, either as undrafted free agents, or now there's like this weird separation, Shawn, where it's like undrafted free agents, but then people that are invited to a camp. You see how that's been differentiated? I don't really know what that means. Maybe you do, as more of an NFL guy. But like, I don't think it really matters. Like, just because you sign as a UDFA doesn't mean you have any more of a chance to make it out of the summer than somebody else.
No.
So, or even being drafted in the 7th or 6th round. But we'll get to that in a second. Let me, for the purpose of logistics, just read through all of the picks, and then we can talk about them and also the people that have been picked up. And I think this list is complete, but this is about all the research I did before the episode. So I could be completely wrong on maybe some people that haven't been picked up yet. Vega, Ione. I think I said something that we would record an episode if he wasn't picked before pick 20. He was picked 14th to the Ravens. So that was cool. 2nd round, nobody, which is a little bit surprising. I think you're probably going to want to talk about Denied Dennis Sutton, so I'll save that. But Drew Aller goes in the 3rd round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sure we'll have a couple thoughts on that. Did not expect the 3rd pick to be Drew Shelton, to be going to the Dallas Cowboys, but he went to the Dallas Cowboys, 3rd Penn State off the board. Then denied Dennis Sutton to the Green Bay Packers. He'll be teamed up with former Penn State linebacker or Koa Farmer's backup, Micah Parsons, at Green Bay. And then in the 5th round, we had 3 Nittany Lions go. Zacchae Wheatley to the Carolina, Nick Singleton to Tennessee, which he'll be wearing number 32. I found out just moments ago. Zane Durant to the Buffalo Bills. That was one of the last picks, I believe, in the 5th round. And then Katron Allen in the 6th round went to the Washington Commanders. Other folks that were picked up, Nick Dawkins as an undrafted free agent to the Ravens. Dom DeLuca, undrafted free agent to the Ravens. Guy who I was very surprised wasn't drafted, Khalil Dinkins to the 49ers. Long snapper Tyler Duzansky to the Las Vegas Raiders, which means you got 2 long snappers on the West Coast now, former Penn State long snappers on the West Coast now. I think maybe we'll talk about this when we talk about Drew Aller. Notably, no wide receivers were drafted. Shocker. Trevor Pena picked up, undrafted free agent to the Jaguars. Devontae Ross picked up by the Chargers, and Nolan Rucci picked up by the Indianapolis Colts, which I feel like they could get rid of. Connor McGovern's with the Bills, right?
You're thinking of Will Fries, I think.
I'm thinking of Will Fries. Yeah. Insert undrafted free agent white offensive lineman from Penn State. But Nolan Rucci and Fries, like that, honestly, it's like they picked up, they got rid of one, they got another one. And then more recently, Gabe Nwosu also picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Love that pickup personally. Not that I'm a huge Steelers fan anymore, but I think Nwosu's going to make it. I mean, dude's got I don't know anything about the current Steelers situation of punters, but I believe, I could be wrong on this now, Shawn. I believe Liam Clifford got invited to camp with the Colts. Do you have anything on anyone else that I missed?
I think you named everybody I saw.
Okay. I'm a little surprised on a couple that I hadn't heard anything from. I haven't heard anything on Kyron Hudson, which I thought was kind of strange. And I don't think I heard anything on Alonzo Ford Jr.
Yeah, I kind of thought Alonzo Ford might find a home somewhere, at least a temporary home. I wonder if his medicals scare people a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Kyron Hudson. I think the problem with Kyron Hudson is he's a possession receiver who drops a lot of passes. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like an oxymoron, but like he's not that fast. And he's not reliable enough. Like when you don't have very good speed, like you better be able to catch the ball consistently. And I just don't think he does a good enough job of that.
I will add, this is from 24/7 Sports. Trey Wallace, who obviously went to Ole Miss, he signed a deal. He wasn't drafted, but he was signed a deal with the Cardinals. Malik Mega, little special teams guy there. Didn't he have like that one catch for negative yards on like a third down or fourth down play or something like that against Ohio State?
That sounds about right. The only Malik Mega moment that I remember is that touchdown against Rutgers where the Scarlet Knight was in the end zone and he did the face palm.
I don't even remember that. I'm surprised you. Who threw that pass?
Christian Veyer.
That makes sense.
That
was a good pull shot.
Yeah, it was the game that everybody had the stomach virus and we barely squeaked it out against Rutgers.
He stayed at Coastal Carolina and he signed with the Carolina Panthers. How about Malik McLean, who didn't do anything at Penn State? He went from Florida State to Penn State to Arizona State. And apparently he signed with the Jets. So I'm sure that will go well. That's all I had there, and there could be more, but that's all I was been able to find so far. So I'm sure there probably is other names out there that I may have missed, but that's what I had been able to pick up on. Shawn, do you want to go Drew Aller or do you want to go deny Dennis Sutton first? Or whatever you want to talk about.
We'll start at the top. We'll start with Vanga.
Okay.
Vanga is a Raven. Like that is, I couldn't think of a better fit. He is going to be awesome. And it's not surprising to me that that a team like the Ravens picked him up. As I wanted the Dolphins ended up drafting Caden Proctor. And now I'm seeing they might play him at guard. And we passed on the best guard in the draft. But that's the Dolphins. But so I gotta show Vanga some love. My brother-in-law, who's a Steeler fan, was asking me about Vanga, and I said one of the things I like about him is he was one of the only guys not to ever have his head down, played hard every game, and really had a professional attitude from the time he got here. So I gotta give Vanga his flowers. About Drew Aller, Cory and I are not big fans of Drew Aller. I think everybody who listens to the podcast knows that.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. We'll see what happens with the Steelers. I personally don't think he's going to be very good, and there are a lot of excuses made about Drew. But I just don't think he has that it factor, that edge. Cory's pointing at his head right now for all our audio listeners. Like it really is kind of in his head. And maybe being with the Steelers, maybe being with Mike McCarthy, who has developed a lot of quarterbacks over the years. Say what you want about him as a head coach. He does know quarterbacks. Maybe that does something, but I don't know. And even like based on what Terry said, that I didn't really talk about, that Cory brought up. People forget Mike Yurcich was here, like specifically for Drew Aller. Because Terry, for those of you who didn't see, paraphrasing a little bit, said we didn't build the offense for him. While true probably for Andy Kotelnicki, he did have Mike Yurcich here, and he was still the same guy. So take that for what it's worth. I hope Drew does well, but I don't really see it. I would not have drafted him in the third round.
I mean, I don't think the quarterback class is very good, period. Like,
no,
I think was it Arizona who picked up Carson Beck like right before Aller? I'm like, Carson Beck, I wouldn't really bet my future on him either. I find it hysterical that the Steelers picked him up given that they have Will Howard. And if like you're gonna take a flyer on somebody late, that's another quarterback, fine. Like I don't care. But using a third round pick for a guy that might not even be your backup, I think is a waste, period, regardless of how you feel about Drew Aller. Unless they don't think they already know Aaron Rodgers isn't going to come back, which I don't think he's made a decision yet. And they still have
It's so weird.
They still have the Oklahoma State guy too, don't they? Don't they have him still?
I think Rudolph is still there. And then I'm happy you brought up Arizona. What the hell are they doing? Why would you take Jeremiah Smith at number 3? But and then you draft Carson Beck. What is the thought process there?
I don't know. Point being, if Aaron Rodgers decides to come back, I'm very curious to see, like, does he bully Drew Aller into quitting football? Because I feel like that could actually happen.
I think it could be a really funny, like, buddy comedy. You have Aaron Rodgers coming out of the dark room, and there's Drew there with the Gen Z haircut, and Aaron's high on water or whatever it is. It'd
I don't
be very
know.
funny to watch them interact.
People will say, "Oh, he didn't have a lot of great receivers at Penn State." Sure, I guess.
He had the best tight end in America too.
Yeah.
Everybody glosses over that part. And he had a great offensive line, and he had a great backfield. I just hate excuses for people. And then when he gets drafted, all I hear about is the traits. It's
the NFL.
Just watch a guy play.
Was it you who put the meme in there about the money ball? And it's like, if he looks like a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good?
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta just watch the games. And look, could Drew make any throw? Yeah. Did he do impressive things at Penn State at times? Yeah. He did. But I don't really love drafting a quarterback in the 3rd round that shrinks at every big moment except parts of the Big Ten championship game against Oregon.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say, you know?
Yeah, be curious what happens. Denied Dennis Sutton. Did everything right. Played in the bowl game. Did everything right. I, for the life of me, can't understand why he fell. I don't know if his motor was necessarily perfect as far as, like, playing every snap high to the best of his ability. He always seemed, in his career at Penn State, always seemed to finish the seasons off very well, but it took a month or two to kind of get in his rhythm. But with his measurables and, former 5-star guy, and I just cannot figure out how he fell that far. And I think is an absolute steal. Like, he could have just as easily went at the end of the 1st round, and I wouldn't have been a surprise. That's a weird one to me because NFL, we just talk about measurables and traits. He fits all of that. And if you want to try to knock him on production, I don't think that's fair because he has good enough production where that wouldn't matter. And so he still fell, which I thought was really interesting, unless there was something else that happened that we're not aware of from an injury perspective or something like that. But I couldn't understand that one. And, like, he can do everything. He can stop the run. He can rush the passer. He can play a 3-tech if you need him to. He can even drop in coverage, as we saw. So I don't really know. All I know is the Packers got a hell of a guy that late, and for a lot less money as well. So, Shawn, I don't know if you agree with me as strongly, but I couldn't quite figure out how he fell that far.
Yeah, I thought he would definitely be a day 2 pick. And the only thing I could think of is he's not very quick. He's not slow, but he doesn't have the same kind of twitchiness that you would see. Like, if he did, he'd be a 1st-round pick because his size is so good. And he's still, even though he's not really twitchy, he's still very athletic. So he does make up for it. And when he got picked, I kind of thought going in, I swear I really thought this too, Packer or Dolphin, because he fits that kind of defense. They like their big defensive ends. And I thought, and Jeff Hafley comes from the Packers, so I thought there was a good chance that the Packers would pick him. So I think he's going to the right spot. He's going to a good team. He gets to learn from Micah. So I'm happy with where he ended up going. I think Nittany uses a lot of this stuff as fuel. I saw he actually tweeted out pick 122. Or I think that's when he was picked. And I think he's taken that pick 120. And I think he's taken that personally.
Yeah. I agree with you on the twitchiness thing. He didn't have nearly as quick of a get off as Abdul Carter, which I don't know if anyone in the world does. But even compared to like an Adisa Isaac, wasn't that quick off the ball.
Yeah, Adisa was quicker.
But he still ran a 4.6 340, which
oh yeah, he ain't slow.
yeah. So yeah, no, I'm very surprised by that. I want to ask you one more thing about the actual guys that were drafted. Then I'm going to go on a little bit of a Liam Clifford rant because I won one last time.
Oh, that poor guy.
The running backs, Singleton, Katron. I'm not saying like everyone's gonna say, oh, running backs just aren't valued at the next level. Okay, but then you tell me how Jeremiah Love went where he did, right? I think Notre Dame can probably sit there and get the last laugh because obviously Love and Price went as early as they did. But here's where I think the NFL is a little bit of doesn't know what they're doing because you cannot look me dead in the eye and say there's that big of a gap between Price and Love and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen to be picked that far apart from each other. It's all BS. Like this is not a science at all. It takes one person to fall in love with you, and all of a sudden you're going to get. I agree, Jeremiah Love's the best back in the country, but do I think Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are that much further behind? No, and so that's not my question. I just want to get that part out. My question to you, Shawn, is they kind of came to Penn State with this mindset of like, oh, we'll split the carries, we'll have less, say, wear and tear by the time we get to the NFL. However, they both stayed for 4 years. Did that alone nullify that in the eyes of the NFL? And or was that not really the problem and those guys were probably going to get picked where they were going to get picked anyway?
I don't think that was the problem, that they both stayed 4 years, because it is kind of true. Like for guys that stayed 4 years, they did have less wear and tear, because they got to come in together. I think Singleton, it surprised me a little bit that Singleton was taken ahead of Allen. And I do wonder if maybe the teams were afraid of Allen's speed. There was a reason why he didn't run the 40 either at the combine or a pro day. So that's telling me it ain't that good. And these teams probably know that. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with who they are as backs. We've talked about Nick Singleton's issues ad nauseum. You know, these scouts that watch the tape and do this for a living are probably doing the same thing. So I think they both have some flaws. I'm surprised though that Katron slipped all the way to the 6th round. Like that was great value because I fully expect he's gonna make a team. He's gonna make Washington. It just surprised me that he was drafted that late. I kind of thought 4th round for Katron, and they didn't take him there. So, and then Singleton going to the Titans. Interesting that he's wearing number 32 because did you see that tweet from Adam Schefter where he tweeted out something about Nick Singleton?
Yeah.
And it was God, what's his name? 90s running back that wore number 32, not Kajana. Name escapes me, but it wasn't even the same number, and it was obviously from the 90s. I don't know if Shefty was.
Do you think he knew something that nobody else knew? Like he knew
that Nick Singleton's a time traveler, or
maybe Schefter's a time traveler.
Maybe.
Just saying.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that surprised me. I want to give T. Frank some credit, actually, Thomas Frank Carr, because he had said on their Blue White Illustrated pod to watch Drew Shelton, that he could get picked higher than people realize. And I think he got picked higher than both of us thought. And it kind of makes sense. Again, go back to traits. He's a big guy that could move well. He has versatility. He could play both tackle spots. He could play guard. Did a good job here. I thought he was a good player here. But I don't think people expected him to get taken above Denai Denison. I certainly didn't.
So I'll just say this. I am not surprised Singleton went before Katron Allen. Speed is a huge part of that. Like, I don't know if Katron Allen makes it. I don't know if he's fast enough to be in this league, just to be honest with you. Does the vision translates all that? Sure. But do those 12-yard runs turn into 6-yard runs? Do those 6-yard runs turn into 2-3-yard runs? I don't know. Nick Singleton has the speed to play at the NFL. He also is pretty good out of the backfield as well. And I know Katron Allen got better at that, but Singleton is a weapon out of the backfield catching the football. So if you need like a third down back, or if only Singleton can do that for you, that's still value added right off the bat. I don't know if Katron Allen can be an everyday back because he doesn't have that speed. Honestly, I would have liked to see them get put together somewhere, because I still think they would complement each other very well. If you had Katron for first and second down and Singleton more for third down, I think that actually could have worked out pretty well for somebody down the road. But that stuff kind of doesn't really happen anymore. But I wasn't overly surprised. If you're drafting at that point anyway for just straight up potential, I still think Singleton has more potential from his speed, from what he did obviously as a freshman. He got some of his mojo back. Obviously, his vision isn't as good, but I'm not surprised from a potential at that point. You're taking Singleton, even though he's coming off a little bit of a foot injury.
Better college running back, Jadarian Price or Katron Allen?
Katron Allen.
I think so too.
But that obviously doesn't. Nobody cares about that.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm surprised Jadarian Price got taken in the first round. Like, I never watched him and thought first round pick.
No.
Ever. No disrespect either. I think he's a good back, but I can't believe he got taken that high.
Lambda on YouTube. By the way, you can still listen to us live on YouTube. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already there. He says, I blame Franklin a bit for Aller's problems. I think he messed Drew up mentally, turned a five-star strong arm quarterback into a check down merchant. Then he just said also, imagine if we use Katron first and second down and Singleton on third down. Winky face. Yeah. Imagine. If candies and nuts were, if and buts were candies and nuts. Isn't that how that goes? Something like that?
What a wonderful Christmas. Yes.
Okay. Probably my final rant until one of the Cliffords decides to have a kid. Actually, Shawn Clifford already has a kid, I think. Is that wrong? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I think you're taking a Trace. I think
Trace had a kid.
Him and his wife are either expecting or I think they have a baby, actually.
Cordell Mitchell is the running back. Thank you, Don.
Cordell Mitchell, yes.
Anywho, last Clifford rant I get for a long time. See a lot of people on Twitter. Someone posted something about Liam Clifford signing to, I don't know if it was a Canadian football or UFL or I forget where it was, but it was a really funny graphic, fake AI graphic. And everyone was like, oh, what did, Liam Clifford doesn't deserve this and all this stuff. And the Clifford family, stop. Just stop. Clifford family, as far as I'm concerned,
oh no,
they are babies. They are babies. They soft skin, can't take a joke, can't take any criticism, soft babies. I'm going to tell a story, Shawn, because I don't care.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I can't believe you're pulling this one out, but go ahead.
And this isn't even about Liam Clifford, but the point being that these guys are getting paid a lot of money and can't take simple criticism is ridiculous. So way back when, this is a gem for the people that stayed tuned all the way to the end. And then we're not even really all the way to the end. But anyway, back when Shawn and I were part of a previous group, which I don't even know if they're still doing stuff, to be honest with you. Haven't seen a lot from them lately. But we were at this event. And a little backstory here. I had maybe made a joke on our Twitter account talking about Shawn Clifford. And I said something about like this is such a good pocket. Like Sean Clifford won't even run out of it or something like that. I forget what it was. Making a joke about like Sean Clifford from time to time would leave a pocket early and scramble when he didn't have to scramble. That's just like a fact. Like I watched a lot of Clifford film. That's when I was in a lot of those breakdowns, late night breakdowns. And again, just a reminder for anybody who forgot, I was an avid Clifford defender for years. People threw bricks through my window because I defended Sean Clifford so much. I put my reputation on the line multiple times to defend Sean Clifford. I had that one tweet making a joke about Clifford leaving a healthy pocket, which, by the way, was true based off of the film. And I have receipts if you want them. And he was pissed about it. People reached out to us, let us know that we had to take the tweet down, that he was very offended by it, which at that point, he wasn't even at Penn State anymore. He was already in the NFL. So take that for what you will. But Shawn, you and I are at this event. I want to say it was probably a blue and white event, blue and white weekend event, I think. I'm not sure where it was. I think it was at Medler Park.
It was at that.
Lebrano Park, Medler Field, whatever it is. Doing whatever thing what we were doing with our previous association. I don't meet your heroes kind of moment there. Where I got, and Shawn, you saw it, I got a death stare, glare, cold shoulder.
Yes.
From Sean Clifford himself. Once I don't know who introduced us, but like, hey, these are the guys from Hardcore Penn State Football. Immediate, like, F you, I don't want anything to do with you kind of thing. All because of that one tweet. Because he thinks that we didn't like him. Which, if he wanted to come up to me and say, hey, dude, you're a jackass, I think that would have been totally fair and respectful. But to just like, no time for them. Those guys said something mean about me on Twitter one time after years of defending me. Sorry. No love lost for the Cliffords. No love lost for Liam Clifford. He stunk. He should have never been on the field. He shouldn't have ever even had a scholarship to Penn State. I don't care if he could block a little bit in practice. He should have never been on the field. He had one nice catch against Illinois, which I'm pretty sure Aller could have put the ball in his hands for him any better. And he didn't do anything else other than that. And he was 100% part of the problem on why Franklin was fired. And I hope he doesn't come back to Penn State. And I don't want him on the podcast. So, no, I don't feel bad. I don't care about the Cliffords. I don't respect Sean Clifford. And I'm not defending him. I won't go out of my way to defend Sean Clifford or any of the Cliffords ever again. The haters win. Don't meet your heroes.
What about the old head of
Paul Clifford?
Yeah, what about Paul Clifford?
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He doesn't have that position anymore.
He does not. Yeah, that's why I said forever. I don't know what Paul Clifford's up to these days.
I have no.
He's a nice guy.
I have no beef with Paul Clifford.
Yes. I forgot about that story. And then as soon as he started, I was like, oh, he's doing this.
Do you remember that? There was an obvious disdain.
No, he didn't want anything to do with us. And it was us. Trace McSorley was there. It was a lot of people. And Sean Clifford had shown up and just, nope. And keep in mind, that was in April. You made that joke in like October.
Yeah, it was.
So it had been like 6 months ago. Yeah. Yeah, it was forever ago. Cory, I think it was during the Maryland-Ohio State game, if I'm not mistaken. I think Talia Tagovailoa messed something up, and then you made the joke, and then I got that text message. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, back when the Gestapo told us what we could and couldn't do. There's a little gem for people that listen this far through the episode. But there's a good lesson there. So, no, in all seriousness, good luck to Liam Clifford. I don't know what a camp invite means versus an undrafted free agent signing. I guess the Colts maybe are looking for some people that can block a little bit. I'd be curious if he's getting paid more money to try out with the Colts than what we were paying him? I would say
No.
probably not.
That's a lot of people. That's actually a big thing now in the NFL. Like a lot of these undrafted guys or late round picks, they are getting paid less. Like a guy like Kaytron Allen, even who was drafted, he may be making less. Yeah, he probably made more this year than he would have in the NFL last year. There's a pretty good bet because he was definitely making north of $1 million here. And there's Drew, not even a guarantee you're gonna make the team. Drew maybe because he was probably making like 2.5 to 3 here.
Disgusting.
Yeah, he was making a lot of money. But that to be fair, that's also the going rate for quarterbacks.
I hope he invested it.
I hope so too.
All right. Will Gamble says hi on YouTube, by the way. Before we get out of here, Shawn, unless you want to rip on the Clifford family.
I think you said it. I think you said it all. I will defend Paul Clifford, but not really.
Again, I'm not going to rehash it. It's just frustrating in the sense that I took so much heat defending him, and then I'm not asking him to give me an award or a trophy or anything, but he could have,
Do you think he knew? Like, I don't know how much people keep. I don't know how much these guys keep up in the Twitter streets when they play. No. Do you think he knew that we were especially you, were such an avid defender of his?
I don't know. Mind you, it's hysterical in hindsight thinking about this the whole thing when Mr. Adam Bittner was on the show, and I think he still has us blocked. We were defending at one point, which, by the way, I'd like to say I was right about that. Adam Bittner was adamant that Drew Aller should start against Ohio State at home over Sean Clifford as a true freshman. But in hindsight, it's hysterical that was like a heated debate because now it's like those are our two options.
I know, yeah.
Oof. Which, by the way, to this date, if we're playing our schedule this year, and I had to choose what I know now, I'm taking Sean Clifford over Drew Aller.
He's a better quarterback here. Yeah, he was. I mean, Drew. I don't even know if I could say he's more accomplished. We did get to the playoffs with them, but Sean Clifford also never had a 12-team playoff. I think Penn State would have made the playoffs a couple times with Sean Clifford as the quarterback.
We probably would have played Memphis in one of the first rounds like we did.
Yeah, we would have made it in 19 and we would have made it in 22. So yeah, we would have made it twice with Sean Clifford if he was the quarterback. If
we had just as favorable of a seeding as Aller did, we probably would have made it just as far.
Yeah. If we played, like you said, Memphis, that's one. And then I don't know who would have played next, but yeah, the 2019 team was low-key dangerous.
Yeah. I think we talk about this a lot, but Journey Brown, that's one of the biggest what ifs in Penn State history.
I know.
The 2020 season in general.
I stand on Journey Brown would still be in the NFL and starting if he wasn't sick, if he didn't have the heart condition.
Lambda says a lot of SEC players have taken pay cuts to go to the league long before NIL. I think that's funny. All right. We're not going to go very deep into recruiting today. I think that probably needs its own show to get back. You mentioned Stanley Montgomery, 4-star guy just committed, top 5 in the state of Pennsylvania for the 2027 class, which ranks roughly top 5 right now. You mentioned Kashawn Telfair from Ohio as well. He's like one of the most coveted corners in the country. That was a huge get for Terry, 4-star guy out of Ohio. And I think we can kind of talk about the other guys another time. And we have a question that we're going to save about that as well, Shawn. So I don't want to go too far into it, but 13 commits so far. Feeling pretty good, Shawn?
Yeah, pretty good. I do think some of these guys are going to, their rankings are going to increase because you do look at the star ratings, and I know a lot of people don't care about stars for some good reason. But look at the offer sheet. Like guy like Ryan Robbins, who just committed over Blue White weekend, he had Ohio State after him. Like there are a lot of these 3-star guys that had big time offers. Now, were they committable or not? Not necessarily, but they were at least interested. Blake Benton, he's another guy that's going to be a really, really good player at the next level. You mentioned Telfair. I think that guy, it's I can't say this enough. Cory said it earlier. It's so important that we kept Terry Smith because he is still definitely our best recruiter. And he's just been here, so he knows the lay of the land better than anybody on the staff.
All right, I kind of want to leave recruiting there. We'll touch more on that later. But things seem to be good there. Let's go to the question that was about recruiting, though. I asked on Twitter, tell us your thoughts on Matt Campbell so far, and drop us a question. And Einstein von Braun, Mr. said he's cautiously optimistic, but loves what he sees so far. He says Matt Campbell just gets it, and he feels like a Penn Stater through and through already. His question, at this point with Peter Bork's recruiting quarterback, for those that don't follow along as much as Shawn does, getting more convoluted by the day, would you rather Will Wood, another quarterback, commit and be done with it? So, Shawn, I'm going to give you the amateur background here for a second, then I'll turn it over to you. From what I've gathered, Peter Bork's obviously came to Penn State a lot, even when Franklin was here. He's now come at least once, if not twice, I think, when Matt Campbell's been here. And seems to be the front runner, except from my understanding, if Notre Dame were to offer, that would make things interesting. And there's some other weird pieces out there, like with Kentucky and Auburn and some other things like that. But the bag, it seems to be in consideration here. Will Wood, I don't know as much about. I know he's a 3-star guy. I think it's between Penn State and Boston College. He's like right from outside of Boston College. Sounds like maybe he does want to come here, and now it's in this weird kind of spot. Is that any of that correct? And then I guess I can go ahead and answer Mr. Von Braun's question.
Yeah, you got it right. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Justin Fields, Will Levis thing. So Justin Fields was committed to Penn State early. Peter Bork technically never committed to Penn State, but Penn State was high on the list ever since he decommitted from Michigan. So back in the day, Justin Fields ends up really blowing up with everybody. Decommits from Penn State, commits to Georgia at the time. And then we got a guy from New England named Will Levis. And rest was kind of history, in a way.
Mayo. The rest was Mayo.
Rest was Mayo.
In your coffee.
So very, very odd. Will was always a strange bird. But then you fast forward to now, Peter Bork decommits from Michigan. Penn State was seen as his next best option. Then Notre Dame comes around. Ohio State's lurking. So he's got a lot of big time schools potentially coming after him. As far as when we pull the plug and settle a bit for Will Wood, I don't think it's reached that point as of yet. I think they might wait until official visits to see how that all goes, but I don't know. Will Wood, to my knowledge, more mobile quarterback from up in the New England area. But the question is, how great is he? I mean, our biggest competition right now is 1-11 last year, Boston College. So I think there's a limit on how much Matt Campbell's going to spend on a quarterback. I think he's going to be more money conscious. He's not looking to just make a splash just for the sake of making a splash. So there's that. So to answer the question, not yet. But I do think there's a limit on how much Matt Campbell's going to and Derek Hoosier are going to be willing to fork over for a true freshman quarterback that hasn't done a whole lot, that hasn't done anything yet in college.
Yeah, I'm already seeing some copium being drank. Like, oh, this Will Wood guy is not too bad either, and like maybe he's even better than Peter Bork. I'm just like, all right, we've already sort of just admitted that we're probably not going to get him. So, if I had a bet right now, given I don't know very much about the situation, I would be surprised if Penn State lands Peter Bork, just the way these things usually end up falling.
Yeah, I think it's getting less and less likely. Another team that might be lurking is Virginia Tech.
Bum, bum, bum. Obviously had a relationship before Franklin left to go to Blacksburg. Mudbug, I believe. I can't remember anymore who won. I forget who won the Big Ten Pick'em last year, but Mudbug won it at one point.
He won one of them at least.
Anyway, he just asked how we've been, but he did say the jury is still out for him on Matt Campbell. Time will tell. So I think whether I did this on purpose or not, I think our longtime listeners are kind of in the same boat that I am, which I appreciate that. Dorito Bandit, feeling pretty good, liking what I'm seeing so far. Jim Cavalucci said, feel good, but we'll believe it when I see it. Last year and some others have sort of put a damper on my excitement. Exactly kind of how I'm feeling.
Yep.
And then I guess we didn't really get any questions this week. That was the only question. Sam Williams also said Campbell will do well and win a good amount of games. I say 8-4, 9-3. So kind of where you're at, Shawn. I've noticed he's very to the point in his press conferences. Seems to be only about football and winning. So there you have it. Again, time will tell. I think we got through everything we wanted to get through, Shawn.
I think so.
I was going to look real quick.
And just you didn't go to you weren't in the stadium for the spring practice, correct?
I did not even tailgate for it. So
it was a washout of a day. Yeah, I barely got we were even considering bringing the baby down for the day. But then when we saw the weather and being that she's like 6 months old, we were like, nah, that's okay.
Yeah, no. We didn't even talk a lot about the players today, so we'll have to come back at another point. Maybe next week, maybe in 3 months. No, I expect us to record more frequently than that. But we'll talk a little bit more about.
I'm happy Rocco's playing.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that still a little bit too. But I think one note I'll have about the team, and I'll give you a chance, Shawn, before we wrap up to provide a note too. I don't think we know very much yet. I think we don't know what we don't know, especially about the offense. I think the defense has enough star players and also consistency from the linebackers that they got from Iowa State that they're going to be fine. Like Darius Dixon, the corners, just all of the corners are phenomenal. And that's going to give us a chance in any game. I think the defensive line's also going to be okay. And I think the linebackers are going to be better than last year's. So I think the defense is going to be fine. The question, shockingly, is like, how good is the offense going to be? And like that to me is where you put your ceiling. And if you think the offense is going to be like last year's offense, then obviously that's a lower ceiling. If you think Rocco Beck is much better, then I think it raises a little bit. But I think the question mark is still going to be like, who are the playmakers going to be? The receivers that they got from Iowa State were banged up, so nobody knows about them. Is Kobe Howard ready to do what we think he's going to be able to do? And then we know the tight ends are going to be good. But I still think the question is pretty much the same as it was last year. Like, defense is going to be fine-ish. Is the quarterback play going to be good enough? And is there enough big plays around the quarterback?
Yeah, do we have a true number one running back too? Yeah. Because there are all these guys just kind of B players. I don't know. I think Quentin Martin could be a B player. Could he be a lead back? Could James Peoples be a lead back? Carson Hansen at the Big Ten level, at least. So those are all legitimate questions on. And then offensive tackle. I think they are having Malachi Goodman try a tackle. I think that's very interesting. We were big Malachi Goodman fans back in the day with during his recruitment. There are question marks. There's some question marks on defense too, like edge rushers. Is Max Granville going to be ready? Take that step that we need him to take. So there's some questions, a couple of questions on defense. Like you said, less questions because we do have more sure things. But yeah, it's a real mystery on the offensive side of the ball.
The offensive line, to me, I feel really good about 4 out of the 5, which you would like to feel good about 5 out of 5. I'm not in a position, I think, where we thought we were going into the year last year, which we weren't at, where we have 6 or 7 or 8 guys that they kind of lied to us about. But I feel pretty good about 4 so far on April 30th, which I don't think it's a terrible thing. I think if the backup center that got banged up, now I can't think of his name.
The walk-on?
Yeah.
Ruley.
Dom.
Yep, Dom Ruley.
I think he could be a piece as well. So I think they could get to 5, 6, maybe even 7 by the start of next year, but by August. But I feel pretty good about 4 right now, which I don't think that's a terrible spot to be on April 30th. So to your point about the running backs, if the offensive line's good enough, can they just be serviceable enough? Like, can they hit holes? Can they hold on to the football? Can Carson Hansen be a game changer? Quentin Martin, can he be a playmaker? We'll see. So, but I think anybody
by Martin, what we saw from the bowl game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you got that every week, you'd be okay. I don't think anyone's expecting this team to go 11-1 or anything like that, but the schedule's favorable, and they have time to figure this out a little bit. Anyone telling you though, coming out of spring, that they have answers to like what this offense is going to be, I think is selling you magical beans. So, Shawn, we recorded an episode.
We did.
So, hey, Hardcore Penn State Football on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening there, make sure you write us a 5-star review. You can find us on Twitter, Hardcore PSUFB. If this is the first time you're listening, we're also on YouTube at Hardcore Penn State Football. We'll be back potentially next week. We'll see. If you guys are nice to us. Sean Clifford doesn't find out where I live.
I know, right? Yeah, I hope they're nicer to us than you were to the Clifford family. You took a whole family down right now.
All right. That's Sean Kane. I'm Cory Lestochi. You have been watching and listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Until next time, bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.